Whew. Good evening. It's good to see you guys. Sorry I'm a little late. Had some things come up I had to take care of, like, well, just don't worry about it. I'm sorry I'm late. So, as always, let's start our workshop with our breathing exercise, okay? So let's do that. Think of that place where you really want to be. For me, it's the H.O.P.E Institute. As you continue to do this exercise over weeks and months, you'll find more and more easy to connect with God and your omnipotence. Unless, of course, you've got an incessant smoke alarm chirping in the background, in which case it might take a little longer. Okay, so last week we talked about omnipotence and your godlike power. And I hope that you took the time to really contemplate what it means to have the power of God inside you, because you are created with that godlike power. When God created us in his own image, he put within us free will, and he told us that we had that free will, that we had dominion over the creation of the earth and all its animals. But he also told us that we have responsibility and accountability for having that dominion and that free will. And what we have done over the millennia is we have taken advantage of the free will, taken advantage of the dominion, and we have shed our responsibility and accountability. And therefore we have caused great harm to our planet and to ourselves and our fellow man. And because we've done such great harm, we have found it very difficult to find our way back to what it means to be a H.O.P.E human, living with honesty, omnipotence, pure love, and essence every day in our lives. So the importance of the omnipotence, as we learned last week, is that we are a very valuable piece of the fabric of creation, and that we must relearn that prayer is an affirmation. That prayer is an affirmation of our hope in accomplishing what it is that we're set here to do, which is our essence, which we'll get into next week. So I hope that you did take the time to write your omnipotence piece in your workbook. And I'll be happy to read you mine. I am in tune with my planet and my creator, so I feel balanced every day. I told you last week that I have to remember to connect with God every night and do that by opening my heart to that energy. I have to remember to breathe every morning and to practice that promise that I preach every day to you. And so when we wrapped up last week, your job was to go and read the chapter on pure love. And we're going to go through that exercise tonight. So, did you read the chapter on pure love? I'm going to read you my quote that I came up with for pure love. And this is from my heart and from my lesson that I've learned. Even though the deception was real and the hurt went deep, it was lack of forgiveness and being overtaken by ego that blinded him to the truth of pure love, and he lost his family. I'll read that again. Even though the deception was real and the hurt went deep, it was lack of forgiveness and being overtaken by ego that blinded him to the truth of pure love, and he lost his family. That was me in 2013. So many famous people understood or understand the power of love. The following quotes are but a few of the more memorable ones. And I wonder if you can identify who said these famous quotes. Put your sword back into its place. For those who live by the sword, die by the sword. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Whoever hates his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. If anyone says, I love God, but hates the brothers or sisters, he is a liar. Whoever loves God must also love the brothers and sisters. We no longer take up sword against nation, nor do we learn war anymore, but we have become the children of peace. If murder is committed privately, it is a crime. But if it happens with state authority, courage is the name for it. Christians are not allowed to kill, but they must be willing to be put to death. Belief is a plant adorned with love, sown by God in the believer's heart. But God has made belief appeal you and adorned in your hearts. Hence the prophet, blessings and peace be upon him, was an advocate of love in both his words and through his actions. He says, by him who has my soul at his disposal, you will not be admitted into paradise before you believe, and you will not truly believe before you love each other. Someone asked, God's messenger, who is the person you love the most? And he said, Aisha. He is then asked, and of men? He said, her father. Whatever living beings there may be, whether moving or standing still, without exception, whether large, great, middling, or small, whether tiny or substantial, whether seen or unseen, whether living near or far, born or unborn, may all beings be happy. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. When I despair, I remember that all through history, the ways of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible, but in the end, they always fall. Think of that always. Hate the sin, love the sinner. If I said to you the people who said these things are from all over the world and from different religions and belief systems, how would that settle with you? Jesus, Muhammad, Gandhi, Buddha, Moses, Martin Luther King Jr., Mandela, John F. Kennedy, and several more contributed to that list of quotes, including me. Did you see any common denominators in those quotes? How about the constant theme of love and anti-violence? So what's my point? The point is that every religion and every prophet has a common theme. You know what that common theme is? Pure love. Why pure? There's several types of love. In order for a love of any kind to be pure, it must not be derived from initiatory force. For instance, a love of war does not come from a pure source, but from an initiatory force source designed to overthrow another individual or group. The feeling you get from the center of your being, from your soul, which is your honesty navigation system, tells you whether what you do is pure or impure. Do you understand the difference between pure and impure? There once was a young man who left home at a very young age because of differences he had with his family. He came from a background of abuse, broken promises, and ultimately abandoned promises and dreams. This young man decided that he would do what he had to do to survive and have a good time while he was doing it. He'd also decided at the age of 15 that no one would ever get the better of him again. So he started selling drugs to make a living so he could survive in the environment he was in. The environment consisted of drug users and partiers and all kinds, so he felt like it was okay to do. But he felt in the center of his soul, and he heard that little voice from the honesty navigation system that said, "This is not good. You should stop." He ignored the voice and graduated to theft to get what he thought he needed. He became popular and he had lots of things for a while. He was envied by many, and he was the life of the party, all the parties he attended. Do you see that he stopped listening to his conscience, to his health honesty navigation system, and he kept going and hurting others by selling drugs to them and stealing from other people? He loved what he was doing because it made him feel important and he had control, until one day he found himself in the unenviable position of facing serious jail time for his actions. Do you see how this is not pure love? To wrap this story up, it was unfortunate that this man got locked up in his tools. It was unfortunate he lacks the tools, thoughts, and beliefs that could have saved him from a fate it would take years of self-discovery and counseling to overcome. But he did overcome, because his mother and stepfather never gave up on him, and because he remembered to listen to his pure love center, his conscience, the health, the honesty navigation system. The young man later found that he did things to create value and deliver value to people that came from purity of thought and from listening to the message from his honesty navigation system, rather than delivering harm and abuse to gain control, and a love that came from being deaf to his voice or pure thought. He still had control of his life, but the control came from a pure love position rather than an egotistical one of control and abuse. You know, the same story can be told about thousands of people just like that, just like perhaps you, and definitely just like me, because that story is about me. Somewhere along the evolution of man's thinking, of our families' thinking. We came to believe that segregation and developing classes of people who are more worthy than others was the norm. Why do you hate me when we both came from the same fabric of existence? God imprinted his name in every cell of our being through the elemental codes of creation. How can we allow for the perversions of our love thoughts to be acceptable? War is an abuse of life. Sexual perversions are abuses of a fundamental force of creation, sex. Pushing chemicals and other self-destroying products into our mouths in the name of nutrition is abuse of our bodies. What the hell happened? Have we gone mad? Of course we have. Do you now also see why our differences are so dumb in the validation of warfare in the name of God or religion? And you see why fighting war is absolutely unnecessary and is contrary to what all these wonderful teachers have tried to teach us? Think about that for a minute, folks. Why do you think that we spend so much time with war and hate? Why do you think we do that? How did we come to this point? What do you think is causing us to be the way we are? Why are we so hateful? What has happened? It's our programming. It's how we have been programmed for millennia. If there's one thing that stands in stark contrast to the message of love that the previously listed quotes made, it's what I'm going to say next. If the prophets and religious and political leaders in all history have missed one thing, it's the fact, the uncontestable fact, that they all died without living to see their visions come to life. It is that these core truths about all humanity have gone unfulfilled even now. Even now, humans continue to kill and hate in the name of one cause or another. Do we enjoy bloodshed so much that we are willing to wipe ourselves off the planet? I think it's time for a change, and I'm delivering hope with the expectation that you and I will live to see a peaceful and happy environment in which to raise our families. You know, I have this vision, and I've had it for a very long time. A vision of a place where we can raise our families, raise our children with honest omnipotence, pure love and essence in our hearts, where we teach our kids what it is to be honest, what it is to be touched by God, and to really truly be touched by God, and to build a relationship with God throughout without fear, to live with pure love in our hearts for each other, to find our essence, to build our life around our essence for what it was we were created to do, and live a happy and prosperous life. I believe it's possible. I also know that we are facing a tremendous challenge in trying to get to that point. People are just robots now, except for a few. There are a few of us who are rebels. There are still rebels who will not allow ourselves to be programmed to follow and march over that cliff. You know, when I wrote my book, I started referring to humanity as family, and now and people of America as my tribe. I like the word tribe. That means that they were all of a like mind, like people. Our tribe is United States. People come from all over the world to join our tribe. We're all members of humanity, the same fabric of existence. But America is a very special tribe. We left the English behind, the English crown, to come here to escape tyranny and oppression. People escape other countries to escape oppression and poverty and dictators and leaders who would and awful things to come here. so that they can find a better life with this tribe. They want to join our tribe. But every tribe has certain rules that they live by. The United States of America is no different. And yet we are trying to, seems that our people that are trying to lead us away from that. That's for another day. When you see a new child being born, do you think about what the baby looks like? Do you wonder who your baby's daddy is? Do you just observe the wonder and the beauty of that new being? Is the baby ugly, pretty, cute, too small, too large? If you tag that baby in some way, you're judging that baby. When you're observing that baby and you feel love in your heart, you're giving and receiving pure love. Pure love is unconditional. When you can go through your days without passing judgment or using initiatory force, and your commitment is to the preservation of all life, you're expressing pure love. When you sense in the center of your being a feeling of warm and wonderful light embracing your being and creating a sizzle in your spine and tears well up, you are receiving pure love. Pure love is not as easy as it might sound. There is a code to unlock pure love. The code is the ability to identify and embrace the fact that all humans were created with the same basic fabric, and that all humans have the right to live a happy and prosperous life, which you are not allowed to dictate. For the reasons previously stated, the pieces of the puzzle for this part of the formula are sometimes difficult to locate. Give yourself the time necessary to work on this. People who know me and have heard my message of hope will understand why I use the HOPE formula integrated into my actions of affirmations to my brothers and sisters and our Creator within our wonderful universe. There's nothing more powerful in the universe than pure love. Have you ever heard about the miracle of the mother lifting a car to save her child from being pinned underneath that car? You have to shift your thinking in order for pure love to work. Calling people names, passing judgment, it's not for you. That's not your job. It is not for you to pass judgment on others for the way they look, for the way they smell, for the way they walk, for the clothes they wear. It is for you to love people unconditionally. Forgive me, I've got a sneeze coming. Forgive me. This wonderful appendage on the front of my face, this nose, gives me a fit sometimes. It's a wonderful thing. I've always been proud of the fact that I can sniff out dead animals and sniff out all kinds of weird odors and stuff. But I get to sneezing sometimes, and it's a mighty big sneeze when I do. So forgive me for interrupting to sneeze for a few minutes. There's nothing more powerful in the universe than pure love and the act of unconditional love. Random acts of kindness are those kinds of things that change whole civilizations' manners and behaviors. The law of paying it forward, as you may have experienced in the movie The Secret, and the law of attraction, are very real things. I have done things in my lifetime, and this is not to aggrandize myself or anything like that, but I have done things in my lifetime where, in just a split decision, I have done something for someone that is painful to me. But it wasn't the act of doing it. It was not considered by me that it was going to hurt at the time I did it. But it was a sacrifice to help someone else be better, or to do better, or to get where they needed to be, or to buy the groceries they needed, or to have a holiday when they couldn't otherwise, to be with their family, to buy the clothes on their back. Unconditional love, random acts of kindness, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Operate without any initiatory force toward other human beings. That's how you change whole civilization's behavior toward one another. There are, and I think you understand that. Wait. You have come to know me in the last few weeks, to know that when a message is coming from other than me, you know that that's happening. Understand that there are other people who will not appreciate or honor your acts of random kindness or pure love toward them. But you must still act. And while you do love your fellow man everywhere, there are times when you must retract and move away from danger that might harm you. We are facing tough times in our country and around the world, and we must be ever vigilant to the dangers that face us as we're trying to spread pure love. For there are people who are not touchable. That's okay. There are plenty who are touchable. And so be happy and vigilant, happy with your vigilance in going forward to spread your pure love to the people who you can touch. When you use the HOPE formula to connect with God and to connect with your inner child within, to touch your essence, to connect, you will begin to be able to see those who can't be touched, who are untouchable, and you will know how to avoid situations that could get you into a bind. You might be at a party. Everyone is being very nice. Everybody's being fine. Everybody is connected to in some way or another. And you'll know when there's going to be trouble. You'll sense it and you'll know it's time to go. Or you may be walking down the street and you'll get to sense that you should cross the street. Do it. These are the kind of coincidences that will come up that you must obey. If you get a feeling that says do this or that, you probably should do it to avoid a circumstance that might get you into a bind. On the same token, on the other side of the coin, you will have coincidences that will make you feel like you are joyfully moving into a situation that will provide you with a wonderful outcome. Always be on the lookout for those. I have an affirmation for you in your pure love adventure that I'd like to share with you. It's on page 73 of your book. At the holidays, try this one. Our family hopes that all people who live on this planet together will rise up and praise the beautiful creation that is man and send a message of hope for all to believe in their own power of creation, given to them by God's own act of creation, and know the power of pure love and living heaven on earth. Because you see, what you're doing with that is you're letting God know that you understand that you have a relationship and an authority with responsibility and accountability for that relationship. I know this is very different for a lot of people. I know that people must feel they must have a fear. Our lives have been conditioned over many millennia to hold certain beliefs that rob us of our creativity and freedom to make ourselves and make our own choices. The leaders of the past and present, both political and religious, who had the knowledge of consciousness and free choice, have used their knowledge to instill fear and timidity into your heart. By making themselves out to be the keeper of God's knowledge and trust, or the keeper of our country's freedoms, these leaders manipulate facts and misrepresent facts about God, creation, and governance to gain an upper hand over you. They want power and money. And if they can convince you that they know what is right and you believe them, then they have gained power over you. This is an effect to keep you under control so that you can feed their egos and quench their thirst for power and wealth. The proof of this is all around us. And in our journey together, often I will bring up the United States because this is our country, this is our tribe. Look at what's going on around you right now. Do you see pure love in our government? Do you see anyone in our government exerting pure love for all the people in our country? I think there's one person who is proving themselves to be a pure love human being in their reincarnation. I will not say that name, but I believe you know who it is if you think honestly. and if you believe in the ability to reincarnate, there is one individual who is exuding pure love for country and Americans in general. I think you know who that person is. I don't need to tell you who it is. The poor, the abused, the ill, the hungry, the class of poor, middle class, and wealthy, wars, disease, and death are all a result of your freedom to create beings secretly amputated from your being. Your ability to have a thought, conceptualize it, design it, build it, and deliver it as a value to your family is the power of creation. It does not matter what that value is. What matters is that you have the freedom and choice to create without feeling threatened by a warped government or religion. I'm going to repeat that for you. Pay attention to this, because this is why you must start operating with pure love in your heart. Your ability to have a thought, to conceptualize it, to design it, to build it, and deliver it as a value to your family is the power of creation. It does not matter what that value is. What matters is that you have the freedom and choice to create without feeling threatened by it or warped by a government or religion. Let that sink in, because we have all been programmed or have been threatened with programming that threaten those things I just told you about: your freedom of choice, your freedom to create, your freedom to make choices. Mysticism is one of the diseases that we have to shed from ourselves. Mysticism, our environment, Dr. Peter W., I can't pronounce his name right, Nathaniel's, in his work, Life in the Womb, The Origin of Health and Disease, states the quality of life in the womb, our temporary home before we were born, programs our susceptibility to coronary heart disease, stroke, diabetes, obesity, and a multitude of other conditions in later life. Why don't you think about that for a minute? If a mother is not taking care of herself, she's not taking care of her baby, right? We've already learned about the power of belief in how that affects our environment. The power of our belief and our emotional state connected to our belief and our heart and our belief system impacts our environment. Well, it also impacts our ability to love. If we create an environment of love and nourishing and wisdom for our baby, that baby is going to come out much more able to sustain itself and to be a healthy person than if that baby is brought into the world from an environment of upheaval and hate, drugs, and whatever else. Does that not make sense to you after learning what you've learned so far in this journey through the HOPE formula? It only makes sense. It's common sense. You know that what a mother does during her pregnancy affects the health of the baby. But it's not all about the mom. It's also about the father as well in the environment. What a father does to the mother, whether physical or mental, impacts the health of the baby. So it should come as no surprise to anyone that a father who is never there is not good. A father who is abusive is not good. A father is just as responsible for the condition of a young life as the mother. There must be a shift in the collective thinking of all humans in order to ensure our babies are prepared to live a life they create to live. You know, I often get into arguments with people. They start out as a discussion, but they quickly dissolve into arguments when people say that they need to have the choice to divorce. My argument about that is that if you have sex and you have a baby and you bring that baby into the world, the two of you better be damn well prepared to take care of that baby until it's grown enough to be able to leave that house. Unless you are in some kind of an abusive situation, or unless something very drastic happens in your life that would cause you to need to separate for some other reason, you have no excuse to be breaking up. You have a responsibility to raise that young person until they are grown. To me, it is an absolutely criminal, irresponsible action for you to take. It's simply, if you get to a point where you don't like the person that you made love with to make that baby, so what? Get along. Find a way to get along and raise that baby happily in a loving, caring environment until that baby's grown. And then you can tell each other goodbye all you want to. But this idea of we've gotten to where we're so me too that we don't take the responsibility and accountability for the actions we do by having sex and resulting in a baby. We need to go backwards in our thinking. We need to re-examine what it is we're doing when we start having sex. Yes, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful feeling. Yes, it's great to have an orgasm. These things are wonderful. But we have to get back to some basic fundamental thinking about what we're doing when we're making a baby. Do you not agree? The basic concept of intercourse is reproduction. And as members of the tribe, as members of humanity, we need to think about what the repercussions are of that intercourse if we should get pregnant. Because when we get pregnant, we have a baby to think about. It has become very convenient to have an abortion. It's become very convenient to split up. It's become very convenient to be a deadbeat dad or a deadbeat mom. It's become very convenient to take your own needs above the needs of that baby. But we need to rethink that. We need to start thinking about pure love in that equation. This is part of what we have to teach our kids. Back in the 60s, it was all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. In the 70s, too. Believe me, I know. I had my share of it. And it caused a lot of sickness and grief in our country. To this day, my generation did some pretty stupid shit. But we have to learn to live a different way. We have to learn to care about what we're doing to our bodies and to the little ones that we're producing. This whole thing about abortion, when we start thinking more clearly about what we're doing with sex in the most wonderful way, I believe that a woman's right to choose is still there. It should never be taken away from a woman's her right to choose because it is her body. It's like if I want to cut my finger off or if I want to, it's her body. She makes the choices of what to do. But see, Where the demarcation is where if she's if she's thinking honestly, she's thinking omnipotently about her relationship with God. If she's using pure love to make her decisions, then a couple of things are going to happen. First of all, she's probably not going to have sex at a very early age like we do now. Second of all, she's going to think twice about who she has sex with. Third of all, the man involved, he's using his honesty and his omnipotence and his pure love to think things through. He's not going to be just doing it to be doing it so often. He's going to think twice before he does it and gets that girl pregnant. Because they're going to both be thinking, if we get pregnant, we are going to think twice about whether we're going to have this abortion or not out of convenience, because there is a baby involved now. That is a baby. The convenience of taking a baby's life because you had intercourse and mistakenly got pregnant. I'm guilty. I'm not going to say with who. I'm guilty of helping with get abortion because of a slip up. Neither one of us felt good about it. We need to rethink about that whole thought process about honesty, omnipotence, and pure love when dealing with intercourse. So you need to live with a pure love life. We need to try to get back to the basics. And I think that if we get back to the basics, we can probably get back to thinking more purely about what it is we're doing when we're loving another human being in a male-female relationship. I had to ask my family for forgiveness because I lost my family. Even though the deception was real and the hurt was deep, it was lack of forgiveness and being overtaken by ego that blinded me to the truth of pure love, and I lost my family in 2013. I lost my family in the year 2000. But I'm often amazed by the power of pure love and how forgiveness can change things. I did ask my family for forgiveness, and they forgave me. All of them did. You are the answer to these problems. We must try harder to keep our families together. I'm not going to say anything more about that. I think you understand that in order to overcome what's happening in our world, we must first come and call the family together and keep it together. Our exercises tonight are that I want you to go into the workbook and I want you to fill out the hate table. I want you to weigh each item from 1 to 4, 1 being mildly negative, 2 being more negative, 3 being really negative, 4 being you hate it. Because I need you to identify the things in your life that you hate. On page 82 of the book, I give you some examples of why there's a negative thing in your life: hate of a parent, hate of a pastor, hate of a sibling, hate of a teacher, hate people of different color, hate religion, hate politicians, hate of someone successful. I want you to assess each of the hate things that you list on your table. And I want you to offer a pure love thought about that hate thing and how it really impacts your life and what you have to do to get rid of it. Every day, acts of random kindness will change the collective attitude of the mastermind that is humanity. Recognizing hatred as a sickness that is brought on by the egos of men will cure the sickness, as that same hate emotion is turned on the sickness itself, the ego. The idea is that if you can't cure the hatred, that you close it off. So you have to counter it. You have to counter that hatred with something other than hate. You have to figure out how to counter it with some kind of act of love. You have to get rid of it. You have to close it. You have to get rid of it because it's static that is closing you off to the ability for you to overcome and become the hope human that you are. Consider that you have what you have experienced through your awakening to a pure love in your heart, and develop an affirmation of your pure love. Use the table in your workbook for your pure love affirmation, for your pure love affirmation. Here is mine. I love without condition. I forgive all who need forgiveness, and I perform a random act of kindness every day. I try to. Some days I miss it. I work from home now, so some days it's a little harder, but I try to do a random act of kindness whenever possible. An affirmation that is thousands of years old and which holds the key to your new pure love code is this one. I do unto others as I would have them do unto me. So have fun with pure love because it can really turn you on. It can really make you happy. And here's a summary of pure love. Pure love comes with no conditions attached. It is the core of every human being. In order to come into full capability of hope, we must shed all human hurting thoughts. The environment in which we live has been scientifically proven to be a major contributor to our genetic makeup. The power of pure love is what awakens our omnipotence. Forgiveness is the hammer that shatters the chains of hate. Everyday acts of random kindness will change the collective attitude of the mastermind that is humanity. And every time you hope in the future, you will do so with the clarity of pure love in your heart. One of the benefits that you will get by taking on the mantle of pure love is that people will begin to realize that you are not a threat to them. And when you are in their presence, they will feel comfortable with you. When you walk into a room, people will be more drawn to want to talk to you. People will be more comfortable with you in general, because when you look at them, they will not see anything in you that would make them feel uncomfortable. They know that you love them. They know that you care about them, and they will not feel threatened by you in any way. On the other hand, there are people who will be threatened by you because they don't understand how love works. And when you are exposing them by looking at them, simply by being who you are, they will feel threatened. And you may have to avoid, as you will be able to feel that need to avoid. But for the most part, what you're going to start experiencing is that people will not be threatened by you, therefore they will not be aggressive toward you. And so life can be a whole lot different. Many of the mentors that you have heard about, and some of you who know me have had the same mentors I have, who talk about becoming wealthy, healthy, and prosperous. The definition of wealth has changed for me over the years. Wealth to me now is more along the lines of feeling good in my skin. It is a wealth that is priceless. Feeling that I am not threatened by my skin is very wealthy to me. finding what I'm good at is priceless. So when you're thinking about wealth and how you are going to become wealthy, begin as you're going through this journey with me, and we are learning about your strategy for how you're going to achieve what it is that you were created to do on this planet. Start thinking about what your new definition of wealth may be. It's fine if it's still money. It's fine if it's still having things, if that's what wealth means to you. But something tells me that your definition of wealth might change just a little bit. For me, it has changed dramatically to where now I'm more wealthy in my comfort with myself than I could ever have imagined 20 years ago. With that, I'm going to sign off, and I hope that you have a wonderful night. And remember to read the next chapter in your book and do your affirmations. You should start doing your affirmations. I hope that you will start sharing them with me. And so next week is the wrap-up week for Hope. Or no, I'm sorry, it's your Essence Week. Next week is your Essence Week, and we will get into that with great zeal and happiness to get into that. And so make sure you read about that. Make sure that you are prepared to talk about your essence next time. Love you guys. Good night.